Good morning. In case you are just joining us, Karibu Tena Sana. This is Good Morning Kenya. I'm Jain, wamboi. We are glad you are with us this morning, and we'd love to know where you are watching us from. So why don't you go ahead and check in pale Twitter using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya, and remember to tag at KBC Channel 1, at Jain wamboi, and at Ray Manyara, so that we can be able to get all your feed in regards to these discussions that we are having in studio this morning. So right now we want to get onto our viewpoint segment, and today it's all about the Covid-19 vaccine. It did land last night here in the country at about 23 minutes past 11, and exactly at midnight the vaccines were offloaded. Now that the vaccine is here with us in the country, what is the way forward? That is the information that we want to just make sure you know and have the actual facts of the matter and not speculate about anything. And to help us with this conversation, the studio this morning we have with us Dr. Willis Akwale, who is the chair of the Coronavirus Vaccine Task Force. Good morning, Dr.
Good morning.
Thank you for being with us this morning.
Thank you, it's my pleasure. All
right, maybe we could just start with the feel of how it was once the plane landed with this, cargo on board. What was the feeling when that particular plane landed this morning? Last night, rather.
For me, maybe more excited than any other Kenyan, because I know the huge logistical tasks and the issues we had to go through to ensure this happens. They have not been easy from the time that the task force was appointed by the principal secretary in December. And we were told that really ensure at the earliest opportunity, the vaccines reach in Kenya, we must make sure we save lives. We must vaccinate Kenyans. So there's a lot of areas of regulation, the issues of planning, the logistics, training of people. It has been massive. So for it to have happened, it was hurrah for the task force.
It was a step in the right direction in terms of fighting this, because we do remember the CS saying, this is now our ammunition. We are not using rubber bullets anymore. We will be running for you some of the pictures that was actually of what was happening on ground at the airport when this particular plane landed. But now there's so much disinformation and misinformation going around on both mainstream and social media in regards to the way forward when it comes to this vaccine. And we want to just demystify and get the proper information. Now, let's just start by addressing some of the concerns that I have been seeing, and especially on social media. And we could start with the fact that as a country, we settled on the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. Let's add, why was this the particular one that we got? Because you have experts saying, you could have allowed room for other kinds of vaccines to just see which will be most effective here in our country.
Yeah, let me start by actually saying we are starting the rollout using AstraZeneca vaccine, a vaccine that has approval by the World Health Organization for emergency use, authorization we call it, a vaccine that was actually also tested here in Kenya by Kemri Kilifi on the variant, on the coronavirus variant here in Kenya, and has been found to be effective. I want Kenyans to know that we have different variants of corona. The dominant variant here, which this vaccine was used as part of the clinical trials, it was found to be effective. The corona variant, the South African variant, in which a very small population was used, is a different variant. And it was used in healthy populations. So that study, we took note of it. It was a very small study, but that does not say or does not mean AstraZeneca vaccine is not. But let me say, the guiding principle. So my task makes the final decision as to which vaccine. But we have what we call the Kenya National Immunization Technical Advisory Group. This is the one that recommended the use of vaccines and advised that the vaccines must be registered by a stringent regulatory authority like WHO. It must also be registered by our Pharmacy and Poisons Board. So these two had to be met. Now, let me also say that within the COVAX mechanism, the requirement is also approval by WHO. Now, as at the time we made a decision to procure, we had 3 vaccines available. Pfizer, Moderna, and AstraZeneca. Moderna, the doses are just not there, so we could not get it through COVAX. Pfizer had limited doses, and as you know, Pfizer requires storage at minus 70 degrees. It has the logistical challenges.
As opposed to AstraZeneca.
Yeah, AstraZeneca. So AstraZeneca could easily fit. It is effective, it is safe, and it has been piloted here. But let me continue repeating.
Yes.
As more vaccines become available, we are going to ensure we are able to bring as many and people can have choices. But at the moment, the vaccines are not just there.
Yes.
Yet, this disease can kill you. Would you take caution by vaccination now, or we wait until you are in an ICU and we say, oh, I wish he got that vaccine?
All right. So this concern about it being not as effective is not something that holds as much water that could discourage us from getting and using this particular vaccine.
Absolutely not.
People should let go of that narrative.
It should let go. And let me also tell people,
yes,
India has deployed hundreds of millions of these vaccines to big populations. You've not heard of people falling like flies from the skies on the ground in India, have you heard? No, so the issue of safety and effectiveness is something that is fully addressed.
All right. Now, we know that the vaccines are at the main government's depot in Kitengela. What is the plan in terms of distribution across the country for the benefit of our viewers? Because we did see the governors complain that they were not involved in the planning of how the vaccine is going to be distributed across the country, given that, you know, health is a devolved unit.
Yes, health is a devolved unit, but certain functions like immunization is a national function. But we are sensitive that even if it's a national function, we work closely,
yes,
with the county authorities. And let me say that we had meetings with the CECs, all the CECs, virtual meetings. We've had meetings with the county directors of health, and last Thursday, we briefed the chair of Council of Governors Health Committee, His Excellency Honorable Peter Nyang'nyong, and he went through the entire deployment plan. And let me say, you know, we are also at a COVID period, so people should not expect that we will be running all over the country, talking to everybody. So virtual meetings are enough to engage. I'm also aware the Cabinet Secretary, Honorable Mutahi Kagwe, is making arrangements to brief the governors. And I must also say, a lot of these things happened because it is only about 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago that AstraZeneca was approved for emergency authorization. And it's only last Friday that we were told your doses are ready. If Kenya was not ready, we would have been pushed maybe up to May or June to get our doses.
Back of the line.
Yes. So Kenyans should be patient with us. We had to get the doses here and we organize ourselves to be orderly. And for Kenyans, I want to urge that there's something called discipline on the queue, queuing discipline. Don't jump the queue. In our DNA, we have, myself, I always want to be on the front of a queue. We have prioritized frontline healthcare workers. That's where we want to protect them.
Yes.
And we have our security forces. This is where we are starting.
All right, and I'd like to just speak up at that particular point in terms of the prioritization process that as a task force you have in place, because just looking at the headlines this morning, it is saying that politicians jump to the front of the line as COVID-19 jab lands. What was informing the order in which you prioritize the different parts of the population, also looking at other aspects that have been affected here in the country?
Yeah, first let me start by the stories I've read, and they are not factual, let me say.
Yes.
And if there's anybody on a queue, they are on a wrong queue. That queue is not where food is served. And it's not where the jab will be given. And I'll come to how we prioritize, but let me say, currently, we are working with the county teams to identify the vaccination. Today, if you go to Kitengela, we are repackaging so that vaccines are sent to the 9 regional stores across the country that serve a cluster of counties. So they'll go to Mombasa, there'll be those going to Embu, Garissa, Nyeri, Kisumu, Kakamega, Nakuru, Eldoret.
Yes.
And then counties can access them from there. Now, we have asked the counties to select one public health facility per county to start the rollout. So we will have 47 hospitals ready to start vaccinating by next Monday. Although counties near Nairobi can start vaccinating even tomorrow and over the weekend. But by Monday, the 8th, we should have 47 hospitals. The final list will be agreed. It will be signed off buy the program, the National Vaccine Immunization Program, and Kenyans will know these are the facilities. So if the governor or politicians call them, if the politicians are not queuing in those hospitals, they are not on a queue. Because that's the queue that the vaccination will take place. So
you can affirmatively say at this particular point, there's no politician who is jumping to the front of the line to get this vaccine. At
this point, there is none. At this point, and therefore that story is an entertainment.
Okay.
But as we go forward, it is possible, and that's why I'm talking of the discipline. And that's now why it is so important I explained the prioritization. We prioritized like this.
All right. I think before we get to that prioritization bit, we need to take a very quick break, but we'll be right back to just help you get the actual facts of the matter when it comes to the way forward, given that the vaccine is here. So do stay